Hi, this is Edda, and welcome to Beauty Flip, where I help ordinary people discover what's so goddamn beautiful about them and extraordinary. Today, we're looking at the power of joy and how you don't need to buy it in order to feel great. You have the ability to make it in every single moment of your life. Hey, all my lovely lovelies. Today's podcast, we are going to dive into joy. And a certain trend that is happening in our culture today is that we tend to really live for experiences. It is all the rage. If we can go to concerts and to potentially venues where we experience joy, we will drop so much money for it. And yes, are they amazing? Absolutely. I've done it myself. But it's not the be-all to end all. Joy is something that is far more profound when we ourselves create it. So I'm going to dive in first to sort of reflect upon this buying joy little scenario that's happening in our culture today, and tell you a little story about a billionaire who rented a sunrise. Let me introduce you to the man of the hour, or shall I say, the next 20 minutes. His name is Rowan Vale. And ultimately, Rowan was a tech billionaire, or is a tech billionaire. And he ultimately had everything, every single thing, except for the ability to feel. And he had a girlfriend, and her name was Lyra, who was the opposite. She was a poet, and she believed that joy was something you earned through attention, presence, and devotion. One night, they were kind of hanging out, and she said half jokingly to this man who had everything, "Well, you can't buy a sunrise." Our fabulous little billionaire decided that was a challenge. So, within a matter of time, he contacted a private aerospace company, and he asked what it would cost to charter a suborbital flight timed so that Lyra and he would break through the atmosphere at the exact moment that the sun crusted the horizon. Ultimately, essentially to see the sunrise before Earth did. Well, the answer was $42 million. Hello, that's a lot of money. But guess what? He was like, sure, why not? I'll do that. So he did. He paid for it. But beyond that, he hires a team of engineers to build a custom glass observation capsule inside the craft, curved like a cathedral window, with coated gold leaf and temperature responsive tinting so that the light would bloom in perfect radiant colors. He commissions a composer, so again, still above the 42 mil, to write a 3-minute piece synced the moment that the sun will appear. And he buys out the entire launch facility for the morning so that no one else could share this sunrise. He literally purchased his little celestial sunrise event. So the morning comes, and our fabulous Rowan and Lyra go, and they get into the craft and they ascend, and the capsule does everything that it's supposed to do. The capsule glows and the music swells and the sun erupts over the curve of the earth like the most beautiful, picturesque moment in the world. And Lyra cries. And Rowan thinks, damn, I'm good. But actually she's not crying because it was so amazing. She's crying because as beautiful as it was, and it was, she really does realize that her boyfriend, Rowan, believes that joy is something you can engineer if you throw enough money at it. She whispers, you did not buy the sunrise. You bought a performance. So he did not buy joy. He bought the illusion of joy. And it was ultimately at least 42 million. When you think about it, if you get up early enough, a sunrise is free. We now, like Rowan, are purchasing joy left and right. We live in a world where joy, believe it or not, is purchased every single day. And this is quite the economy. It's $1 trillion purchase. Let's just take a couple of different industries, shall we, just to make some points. If you're going to a concert today, you're going to at least drop $150 on that ticket. And if we look at the global music industry all by itself, it is a $31.7 billion business. In its live form, makes up to $54.5 billion. But now let's go into a different market. If you're someone who also finds your joy in purchasing luxury items, well, you're going to drop at least $1,500, and that's a small number, more like $2,000 and up for your purse or your shirt or your dress. It's very expensive. Yeah, and the luxury market worldwide, ooh, this is such a big number, is close to, actually, and when this one's in euros, 144 trillion euros. Holy, so crazy, 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 crazy. And if you're someone who finds your joy by going on these amazing experiences in restaurants, well, you know that a meal in a restaurant is going to cost you a lot of money. You could, one night for 2 people, drop $500 without blinking an eye if you're getting a nice bottle of wine. And if we look at this crazy fine dining global market, we're looking at a market of $167 billion spent every year to have some sort of phenomenal experience. We could go on. Let's talk a little bit about travel. You have so many places to see, so many things to do. And ultimately, you know, if you're going on a tour with a company, you're probably going to drop at least, let's say inexpensively, about maybe $3,000 for one person a week, and upwards of $10,000 or $15,000. So depending on your tour, this crazy market for your travel is ultimately somewhere earning right now $271 billion. I think in general, when we look at this fabulous way that we are spending all our pretty little pennies to experience joy, we are ultimately looking at a huge, huge industry, if we would. We could call it the joy industry. This is where we, for buying joy, are spending $809 trillion. So it is a staggering number. And it kind of goes to my episode last week. Joy has become a commodity in which we buy, sell, and trade. And we are unfortunately creating a world where we now work, toil for money so that we can then buy our joy. And it's sad because, truth be told, joy is infinitely available to each and every one of us, not because we just open our eyes, but because we work towards it and create outcomes for it. So we are in quite the conundrum, because ultimately more and more people over and over and over are living with this infinite access to stimulation and infinite access to ultimately buying things that give them joy. In this abundance, and if you will, overabundance of buying things that create joyous moments, there's also an exhaustion because it's not real. It's kind of like a little bit getting high. And so there's also an emptiness that we feel when we are buying our joy. It is not as full or robust as when we create it ourselves. Sort of like our fabulous billionaire, Rowan, who bought his sunrise. So let's talk a little bit about the trends in our world right now. So, as I mentioned before, we live in a world where there is crazy amounts of infinite entertainment. There's infinite amount of content. And then if we look at other things, gaming and other ways that, whether on our phone or through our Xboxes, there's infinite number of games that we can play and infinite numbers of options to create opportunities to get that contact high. Yes, it's nonstop, this little vending machine of joy that we experience today. What does this cause? Well, here are some of the things it causes. First and foremost, it causes a collapsing attention span. A second thing that happens is the chronic overstimulation of all this, if you will, manufactured joy causes over so many times a huge dopamine rush and then another one and another one. So basically we get exhausted, emotionally burnt out, and feeling a little bit wiped out. So we go from one state of being sort of high, joy, ooh, happy, 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 to exhausted, burnt out, and completely disengaged. Ooh, does that feel like you some days? I know. I've already sort of mentioned this one, but it bears some underlining, which is then there is a little bit of an economic situation. Because if we're buying joy, that means we're spending all our pretty little pennies. And that means we're not saving our pretty little pennies for the rest of our life. This also might create social fragmentation in many ways. Maybe your friends can't afford the joyous experience that you're spending your hundreds and hundreds of dollars on. So that sometimes creates social fragmentation, or also that the level of joy is not real. And so the shared event is sort of hollow and you're not really deepening those friendships. We are living in a very crazy world where joy is being commoditized and we are buying it left, right, and center. So our fabulous little human beings, today's episode is to flip that script. Yes, my lovely lovelies, it is time for us to take back what is rightfully ours, our joy. It is ours, we create it, we manufacture it, it's available to us at all times. Let's dive in and figure out how to flip this script. Let's look at what are the key things you can do to start actually creating your own joy so that you don't have to spend it on all the fabulous purses and dining events, concerts. Not that if you choose to go on those, that's great and cool, that you don't need to do that in order to feel joy. We're going to start this off with a little understanding of what joy is. So as I did my research, and I was so delighted to see this because this is actually what I experience as a coach and as a spiritual energy healer. Joy is not something that we actually experience in our brain. What? It's not experienced in our brain? No. Matter of fact, it is experienced in our body. And it actually needs a certain kinds of things for our body to be in a certain state in order to feel joy. So in order to feel joy in our bodies, ultimately, we need a couple of things to take place. The first one is that your body is regulated. This is potentially your heartbeat, your breathing, your stomach, whatnot. You experience more joy when these things, and it doesn't mean like only in a calm state. For example, this can be experienced when you are exercising hard and whatnot, but there's a way that your body is moving in a rhythm and experience together. And you understand that rhythm cognitively. You know that it is a thing that you're choosing to do. And so the very first aspect is that you feel safe, you feel open, and you feel alive. The second thing is sometimes the way that joy will come through touch and movement. Now, that might be separate from the first, but in addition to the first, when we feel a hug or we're dancing or doing something where we're creating laughter with somebody, we feel a vibration within us that is emblematic of joy. So it is something that you feel when you feel the touch of sun on your skin. It is something when you feel a hug. It is something when two people are laughing together. The third way that joy can come to us, or that we can create it, is that joy has rhythm. It has rhythm and coordination and flow and movement. We especially love when we are in coordination with another human or other humans, and we're all in sync. We love that experience. It delights us to no end. So sometimes these experiences can feel ultimately freeing, or potentially a way that it calms you or can shift your mood. But there is a well-being, a concert happening with yourself and others. So it has a beat, and it is something that your body really ultimately finds that those rhythms give you an experience of greater levels of joy. And the last thing is joy has to have meaning. And this one to me is the most important one. Meaning. Meaning is something that is so absolutely important to us fabulous little humans. And without it, these things begin to feel hollow. So, like our $42 million sunrise, it was hollow because it was orchestrated. We live for meaning, and we attach a meaning to everything. And we know, our body knows, I should say. Hello, body. Hello. Our body knows intrinsically if something actually does feel the way we want it to feel. So what I mean by this, you could say, oh, that was such a meaningful dinner, or this person is so meaningful. Ooh, I love it. But your body is sort of like, is it though? Is it really? So this place where you can cognitively choose experiences, concerts, meals, travel, luxury goods, and cognitively, it adds up. If it does not resonate with your body, it will be hollow. And ultimately, that sort of dopamine rush that happens at the top of buying the thing or going and doing the thing will also fall down quickly. Oh, okay. So how do we create joy? Doing things would be top of the list. Doing things that are meaningful. Potentially getting out of a constant, if you will, state of things being brought to you. And by that I mean sitting at a restaurant, sitting at a concert, sitting in some sort of like hotel where you are waiting for the tour to happen, sitting at a store while the luxury items are brought to you, to actually engage and do something. And the thing can be a million gazillion trillion things, because truth be told, joy has no limits. Your ability to go wackadoo over something so tiny that is so important to you because it has meaning is one instant of joy. For example, I love to watch, sometimes we'll be doing puzzles, and one or two people in my family are in such great levels of concentration. You can see that level of manufacturing joy. And as I mentioned before, all of us in the room together, sitting around a table and making our puzzle together is another version of our joy. A little puzzle, that takes us maybe a week or 2 or 3 to get done. And oh, can I tell you, that last piece is the most joyous piece. Now, sometimes there's little mini last pieces, the last piece of this little sort of small moment in the puzzle here or there. And I use a puzzle as one example because some of you are going to say, I don't do puzzles. And that's fine. You don't have to do puzzles. And some of you are going to say, I don't want to go for a hike and see a sunrise. And I'm going to say, that's fine too. But there are things that matter to you. There are things that ultimately are important to you. Now, as an adult, you might have forgotten what those things are. So I am ultimately going to tell you something that I tell a lot of my clients that I coach. Go back to your childhood. Go back and look at what mattered to you in your childhood. Children innately have this ability to construct and build all sorts of worlds and ways of creating joy. They live to create every single day. And their normal instincts about curiosity and sort of wanting to understand things allows for the joy to sort of be interwoven into pretty much every single thing. So maybe you try something that you haven't done since you were a kid. That might seem weird, but I promise you, it could lead to all sorts of really beautiful, nourishing, meaningful, joyful events. Another way to create and manufacture joy is to actually build things. We as humans love to make lasting impacts. Now, maybe your lasting impact might not be your full-on legacy, no, but maybe it's the lasting impact on a team today or tomorrow. So in our world of quiet quitting and only doing what the boss tells me to do because they're not the boss of me. Well, they are. But in this crazy world of quiet quitting, so many people hold back as if something is being usurped from them. And so this idea of you can't have what I have is actually something that then also the person who's holding on to it can't tap into it either, unfortunately. Sometimes the way that we experience joy is by diving in and doing something with great effort and working and collaborating with others and also creating fabulous things for others, solving problems or creating new avenues by which you are going to do something. Sometimes it's the most nourishing experience that you might have in a day. Hard to believe. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, it is. But neuroscience actually will point to that. And I personally have seen it, whether for myself or as the people I coach or my team, that there are beautiful ways that we actually light up like a gosh darn light a bulb when we flip that script of you can't have what I have into let me share and let me show you and let me build with you. So, my fabulous human beings, my little joy makers, go make some joy. Put some of those pennies back in your pocket. I'm not going to spend those today. And create your own joy. Learn, go on adventures, learn how to cook instead of going to a restaurant. Maybe make a beautiful sweater instead of buying a beautiful sweater. Maybe take a time to go and walk up a very fabulous mountain to the top of it and see a fabulous sunrise as opposed to buying an experience for 42 mil. Not that I have 42 mil. I don't know if you do. Anyway, I will see you next week. I look forward. Put it in my little chat. What are the ways that you created joy this week? Small, big, I don't care. Share them all. Thanks for hanging out with me. I can't wait to hear what you do and all the crazy cool ways you create joy. I'll see you next week for another flipping of the script.